Now, we've spoken to Channing Tatum and Jamie Bell on the programme about their new film, The Eagle, but it is out today, so now it seems to be an appropriate time to discuss it.
Do you want to refer to the email about The Eagle?
Well, I will do one. Do you want to talk about it first?
No, okay, fine. We have a clip. Obviously, this is the Kevin MacDonald's adaptation of the 1954 novel.
Yes.
Yes. So, story is
a million copies sold.
Is there a million? Wow. Okay, so the Roman army, whilst north of the border, get lost, and the Eagle of the Ninth Legion, go missing. Okay, and the story, as we pick it up, is that Channing Tatum is the semi-disgraced son of the leader of the Ninth, who is held by some to be contemptible for having lost the Eagle of the Ninth. Channing Tatum is convinced that actually his father did not, wasn't cowardly. This is a terrible thing, terrible slur. And so Channing Tatum holds these sort of dreams of regaining the family name by going back and finding out what happened to the Eagle of the Ninth. Due to various events, he is teamed up with Jamie Bell, who is a slave whose life he effectively saves. Jamie Bell says, "I hate everything you stand for, but I now am in eternal service to you because you saved my life." And he is then enlisted to go with Channing Tatum's character north of the border, because they now have built Hadrian's Wall. According to this version of the story, Hadrian's Wall is built as a direct result of them losing the Eagle of the Ninth, to go north of the border and go and find out what happened to the Ninth. Now, the last time we were talking about this story before this was, of course, when Neil Marshall's Centurion came out, which I rather enjoyed, but was once again inspired by the very same, the legend of the Ninth. This cost about 25 million, so it's substantially more expensive than Neil Marshall's version. Here is a clip starring Wittertainment's very own Mark Strong.
My father. What happened to him?
The last time I saw your father, he was surrounded by the warriors of the Seal people.
Did he die fighting? Did he die fighting?
I don't know. I ran before the end. A lot of us did.
You coward.
No. You weren't here. You don't know what it was like.
Who has the Eagle?
They say the Seal people have it.
How do I find them?
He knows. He's Brigantes. They fought here.
Very good, very good. So, and that was one of the sort of action-free sequences that we...
Well, because otherwise, all he gets...
So, an interesting email, just before you pronounce, from Anthony Lawton. This is some of it anyway. He says, Ave, which is Roman greeting.
Yes.
And actually, I have to say, when anyone says
Down
Ave or something like that, well, it's just Asterix the Gaul.
Asterix the Gaul, that's right.
Constantly
yes,
thinking all that. Simon seemed to have really enjoyed the Eagle film based on the great The Eagle of the Ninth children's historical novel when talking to Channing Tatum and Jamie Bell a couple of weeks back.
Yeah.
I await with familial trepidation the good doctor's response today. I was author Rosemary Sutcliffe's godson and cousin and look after her books now. She died in 1992. People keep asking me what she would have thought of the film, and I want to know what you think. I think he's a little bit irritated that it's not called Eagle of the Ninth, because that was the name of...
It was called Eagle of the Ninth for a while.
It is around almost in Portugal, and he's given me the translations of what it's called in Romania, in Germany, in Lithuania, in Poland, in Spain, in France, and Greece, and everywhere it's Eagle of the Ninth.
Read us out some of those foreign language versions of the title.
Der Ventojo Legiono. Der Adler der Neunten Legion. Aquila Legioni something.
Yeah, it's clearly all Eagle of the Ninth.
Aetos tes Aftokratorias.
What?
L'Aigle de la 9e Légion. I got that one right.
Yes, that's La Norsay.
Anyway, the point being,
yeah,
it's Eagle of the Ninth everywhere, apart from here in America.
And I think it was in the early stages of its production known as Eagle of the Ninth. Certainly when Neil Marshall was referring to it,
But the point is that Rosemary Sutcliffe's godson and cousin, Anthony Lawton, is waiting to find out what you think.
Okay, and we've both seen it. So here's what I think about it. Firstly, I think if you're a 12-year-old boy, you'd think that your ship had really come in, because I was genuinely surprised. I mean, incidentally, I agree with the BBFC's rating, but it is full-on action, smashy up, fighting, sword play, blimey, Charlie, when I was 12, we didn't get that kind of entertainment.
You don't get a beheading, do you, when you're 12?
No, I mean it was really odd because I didn't go into it thinking of it as being a kid's text. I went into it thinking of it as being a movie by Kevin MacDonald, who's known as a very sort of muscular filmmaker and somebody who has a very intimate. So, and actually, one of the funny things with the battle sequences, when we do live in a world now in which there has become a tradition of doing those battle scenes with lots of very fast cutting, as if you're right in the middle of the action, and you think you've seen more than you actually have seen. But there is the sense in all the battle scenes of people running towards each other with great big sharp pointy sticks and objects and swords and going bang, and there is a real sense of fighting folk, fighting me hearties, and I was very surprised at the end of it. Thinking, oh God, actually that's a 12 certificate film and it's based on a kid's text. I mean, as I said, I do agree with the BBF, so I understand why they've come to that rating. But if you were a boy, you just think, if you're 12-year-old, but you just think, blimey, that is...
And I think it's, again, using this information from the app, is that it doesn't linger. There's
No,
a
it
swish and
doesn't.
there's a swash and there's a buckle and there's a quick beheading, but
Yeah.
you don't linger.
Well, that's the interesting thing, is that you come out of it thinking that you've seen more than you actually have seen. I mean, that's the interesting thing, because when the BBFC do their classification, they're very specific about what you have seen and what you think you've seen. I remember ages and ages ago, Julian Petley said to me, the first time you see Texas Chainsaw Massacre...
Julian Petley?
He's a very respected academic. He said to me, the first time you see Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you think, blimey, oh, wow. Second time you see it, you think you're watching a cut version, because the first time you think you've seen so much that the second time you wonder where it all is. In the case of The Eagle, I'm sure it's a similar thing, that the first time I'm sure it is 12 certificate violence, but watching it for the first time in the theatre, you imagine that you've seen more than you actually have.
And also, without giving anything away at all, there's a sequence towards the end which some people might find quite distressing.
Oh, I think there are several sequences which people...
So it is. So if you've got an 10, 11, 12-year-old who is sort of thinking, I'm not really quite sure he's going to be up for it, chances are he might not be up for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is a tough... It's a top-end 12, but I mean, Transformers was a 12 certificate, and there's just robots hitting each other. I mean, Transformers has got more violence probably in it, but none of it seems to have any impact. I mean, this does feel like a lot of clashing and thrashing. I like the story very much. I mean, it is a good epic adventure, going back to regain the lost reputation, to find the father, the slave. And actually, so one of the best sequences in it is when their roles are reversed, because in order to get through the area that they're in, they have to pretend that actually Channing Tatum is Jamie Bell's slave, and they play that up very well. There are some limitations to it. It's not stylistically as radical as perhaps some people may hope. Sometimes the dialogue is a little bit clunky and a little bit explanatory and a little bit standing around and explaining the plot to each other, but not terribly so. And whether or not you completely buy the ending, I think depends on how much you've bought into the fantasy up until that point. I mean, I did like Centurion more than I think a lot of people did, and this is a very, very different film, even though the stories are sort of thematically connected. But I thought, as a swashbuckling, full-on boys' own romp, it kind of worked, and I enjoyed it. You?
I thought, well, Jamie Bell is, I think, outshone Mr. Tatum.
Well, he is a better actor, yes.
He's a fantastic actor. And the Seal people, when they finally get to the extreme wilds and the Seal people, they're terrific. And that whole sequence is just, is wonderful. But I agree with you. I mean, it is, particularly if you're 12. I mean, I enjoyed it, and I'm mentally 12, so I think, it was entirely appropriate and really rather good.